Khalili.
The second round is all set to be held coming Friday.
We have the second round of the presidential election. The first is Mr. Pezeshkian, and the second is Mr. Jalili.
The person who emerges victorious in the round of voting, which takes place on July 5th, will become the president.
Economic turmoil and global unrest have cast a shadow over President Joe Biden's approval ratings.
The rockets are continuing to be fired by Hamas in Gaza, although at a slower rate than previously.
So, right now, we are with the volunteers from the Aleppo municipality. They are still trying to go to the rescue for the people they can find out.
India has emerged as a major diplomatic force at the world stage.
The rising cost of living in Nigeria continues to impact citizens from all walks of life.
The citizens of Gujarat witnessed a mega roadshow here in the city of Ahmedabad.
China is South Africa's largest trading partner for 134 years straight.
A domestic aircraft carrying 72 people on board crashed in Pokhara city in central Nepal.
165 injuries have been moved. 61 people are confirmed dead, and rescue operations continue around me.
After receiving an entire season's rainfall in a span of 48 hours, Chennai city has literally been brought to its knees.
For WION, World is One.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Chandra.
And I'm Heem Korsara, and on the show today, France's far-right national rally that's emerged as a strong political force with a significant lead in the first round of parliamentary elections. The elections saw an unusually high voter turnout, with the RN leading with 34% and Macron's alliance dropping to a third position with 20.3% of the votes as per the initial projections. We'll of course bring you all that's transpired so far and all the updates on this on the show.
Also on the show, Hurricane Beryl charges towards the Caribbean after reaching hurricane status on Sunday afternoon. Beryl continues to gain strength and is expected to remain at Category 4. We will bring you all the updates on that as well right here on World DNA. Let's get you started with the headlines.
In a major blow to Macron, Marine Le Pen's far-right National Rally party makes big gains in the first round of the French parliamentary election. Le Pen declares her party has practically wiped out Emmanuel Macron.
Russian forces attack Ukraine's two largest cities with missile fragments falling on a suburban Kiev apartment building and a guided bomb killing one person in Kharkiv.
Hundreds of ultra-Orthodox protesters clash with Israeli police in central Jerusalem after Israel's top court ruled that the state must begin drafting Jewish seminary students into the military.
North Korea launches 2 ballistic missiles, claims South Korea's military. And this is the latest in a series of weapons tests by Pyongyang that have soured relations with Seoul.
At least 18 people killed, 30 others injured after a series of attacks by suspected female suicide bombers in Nigeria's northeastern Borno state.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa announces his new government with the former opposition parties getting 12 out of 32 portfolios after the ruling ANC lost its outright parliamentary majority.
At least 5 members of a family, including 4 children, drowned after being swept away due to sudden strong flow of water at a waterfall in Lonavala in the Indian state of Maharashtra.
Beryl, the first hurricane of the 2024 Atlantic season, strengthens into an extremely dangerous Category 4 storm as it threatens the Southeast Caribbean.
All right, our top focus on world DNA this morning. In a major setback for Macron, Marine Le Pen's far-right National Rally party has made big gains in the first round of the French parliamentary election.
And of course, this as per the exit polls as of now. National Rally is on course to win 33.2% of the votes, followed by Left-Wing Alliance with 28.1%. Now, given the numbers, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, the leader of France Unbowed, is presenting the far-left alliance as the main obstacle to the far-right.
The centrist alliance is projected to finish at a distant third with 21% of the votes. President Emmanuel Macron has called on voters to rally behind candidates who are clearly democratic in the round slated for next week.
On the other hand, French Prime Minister Gabriel Attal has appealed that not one single vote should go to the National Rally in the second round.
Tonight's lesson is that the far right is on the doorstep of power. Never before in our democracy has the National Assembly risked being dominated by the far right as it was tonight. And so, our objective is clear: to prevent the National Rally from having an absolute majority in the second round, from dominating the National Assembly, and therefore from governing the country with its disastrous project.
The final result will depend on days of horse trading before next week's run-off. In the past, centre-right and centre-left parties have teamed up to take the National Rally from power.
Meanwhile, hundreds took to the streets to protest against the far-right National Rally after it came out on top in the first round.
All right, for more on this, we were earlier joined by our correspondent Himanshu Dikshit from Paris. This is what he told us about the rise of the far right in France. Listen to this.
Economic imbalance, the policies that Emmanuel Macron has made, his having no connection with the middle class has also played a huge role. Marine Le Pen has has really marketed their party really well in TikTok, on social media. Emmanuel Macron has come across as an elitist, somebody who does not seem to be relating to the middle class. Le Pen has tapped on it, and this clearly you can see the difference has been here. Le Pen, as you know, twice she contested Emmanuel Macron to become the president. The first time in 2017, she was really thrashed. The second time she came really close, which actually shows the rise of the far right in terms of being popular in France.
Himanshu also shares certain opinions and insights on whether Macron's call for snap elections have kind of backfired, or are they really achieving the desired purpose? Listen to this.
If you hear some of the ministers from the Macron government himself, the finance minister came out 2 days ago. He said that it is that it's the people around Macron who has actually misguided him. Gabriel Attal, who is the prime minister nominated by Emmanuel Macron, the current prime minister, said that he was not even aware about these decisions. So clearly, and as you can see in the post, there's far right, there's the coalition of the left, and then there's Macron. Macron in the polls is at the last. So clearly they have everything to lose in this election, and it's really backfiring.
In a series of strikes, Russian forces attacked two of the largest cities of Ukraine, Kiev and Kharkiv, late on Sunday.
At least one person was killed, 9 others, including children, injured after Russia struck a post office in Kharkiv. Falling fragments of a Russian missile hit a 14-story apartment in Kiev. The fragments started a fire and damaged balconies. As per Ukraine's fire services, at least 10 people were evacuated from the residential building.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has urged global support to deter Russian advancements. The president said that it is important to strike Russian military targets to restore peace.
The sooner the world helps US deal with the Russian combat aircraft launching these bombs, the sooner we can strike, justifiably strike, at Russian military infrastructure and military airfields, and the closer we will be to peace. Real peace. The world has enough power to force Russia into peace.
Now this comes as Russia continues to mount attacks on Ukrainian cities. A drone footage released by the Ukrainian forces on Sunday showed dead bodies of civilians in the eastern town. The town has come under heavy Russian bombardment in recent days, prompting increased evacuations by rescue services. As per the officials, powerful Russian glide bombs struck the town on Sunday. Following the strikes, President Zelensky claimed that Russia dropped over 800 glide bombs in Ukraine in the last week alone. Glide bombs are heavy Soviet-era bombs fitted with precision guidance systems and launched from aircraft flying out of range of air defenses.
With raging protests at home and a multi-front war on the borders, all is, of course, not looking well for the Israeli government.
And as per the latest, thousands of ultra-Orthodox protesters took to the streets of Jerusalem against the anti-draft military orders. The protests, which quickly turned violent, come against the conscription of Haredi yeshiva students into the military. The demonstrators pelted stones at the authorities, lit fire on the roads. As per the police, the crowd also attacked the car of Housing Minister. At least 5 people have been arrested.
Most demonstrators are reported to be a part of the extremist Jerusalem faction, which has about 60,000 members.
I'm here to support the cause over here against creating drafting to the army. I believe that as much as we need an army in Israel, we also need the army of people sitting learning Torah. They're doing a lot, and we can't have them draft. We need the Torah in the country. We need the Torah, and it's, as far as I believe, it's a bad decision to try and stop that.
Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that Israel will not stop its war until it achieves its goals over Hamas. Sunday's statement comes as a reiteration of the Prime Minister's stance on quote-unquote total victory over the militant group.
As for the sacred task of freeing our hostages, there is no change in Israel's position regarding the release outlined that President Biden welcomed. And today everyone knows the simple truth. Hamas is the only obstacle to freeing our hostages. With a combination of political and military pressure, and first and foremost military pressure, we will return them all.
The Palestinian Red Crescent Society retrieved bodies of at least 6 people killed in Israeli strikes in southern Gaza's Rafah on Sunday. And this comes as the IDF tanks pushed deeper into several districts in the east, west and center of the city. The footage shows volunteers carrying the bodies of the dead into white bags. They were later transferred to Nasser Hospital in the nearby city of Khan Yunis.
As per the Palestinian Health Ministry, the Israeli army has killed at least 43 people, wounded over 100 others in the past 24 hours. The ministry has warned that remaining hospitals, medical centers and oxygen stations in Gaza would cease to function within 48 hours due to the imminent depletion of fuel needed to keep the generators running. The total death toll from the war, it's risen to over 37,000, while about 87,000 people have been wounded in the besieged strip since the conflict broke out in October 2023.
This comes as the United States ambassador to Egypt, Hero Mustafa Gar, visited aid storing facilities at the Rafah border crossing on Sunday to review the situation.
Now, a month after general elections, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced his new cabinet,
drawing 9 of the 11 parties in the government of national unity into ministerial positions, and this after Ramaphosa's African National Congress, the ANC, lost its majority in the elections.
The people of South Africa voted in a watershed election. In casting their votes, our people made it clear that they expect political parties to work together to deliver on a mandate of transformation, growth and renewal. And to give effect to this mandate, it was agreed that a government of national unity, which brings together parties from across the political spectrum, should be formed.
Ramaphosa's party retained the largest share of ministerial positions as he appointed ANC officials to 20 out of 32 cabinet minister roles.
However, in a move that surprised many, Ramaphosa managed to strike a balance between the opposition party, Democratic Alliance, and Ramaphosa appointed former opposition leader John Steenhuisen as Minister of Agriculture. The ANC was forced to enter into a government of national unity after it garnered just 40% of the vote, losing the majority it had held since Nelson Mandela first led it to power in 1994.
This is Agnika on the benefit. Hello. Hello, how are you doing?
US President Joe Biden has turned to his family to discuss his way forward after the first presidential debate.
Of course, that left many fellow Democrats worried about his ability to beat former President Donald Trump in November. One of them has said that they appealed to Biden's top aides in the days leading up to the debate, but to no avail. He said Democrats requested him to make sure he is rested before the debate, but he was exhausted and unwell.
John Morgan, a major Biden fundraiser, has said that he was overcoached and overpracticed. Morgan also blamed senior aide Anita Dunn for putting Biden in a venue that was conducive for Trump and not for him. In attempts to rally support, Jill Biden has come forward to her husband's rescue, delivering a strong message that they're still all in, quote unquote. The First Lady claimed that Biden isn't just the right person for the job, he's the only person for the job. Biden is expected to discuss the future of his re-election campaign with his family at Camp David.
Biden's trip was planned before Thursday's debate. So far, the party's top leaders, including Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, have offered public support for Biden. But according to sources, senior congressional Democrats, including Hakeem Jeffries, Jim Clyburn and Nancy Pelosi, have expressed concerns about his viability. At the same time, reports also indicate that there is an understanding among top Democrats that Biden should be given space to determine his next steps. They believe only the president and his family can decide whether he should move forward or end his campaign early. On Saturday, the Biden campaign held a conference call with members of the Democratic National Committee. Officials described this as an effort to reassure party officials and demonstrate that his team is communicating with its allies to make a case that he can still win. The Biden campaign has also pointed to more than $27 million that they raised between the debate day and Friday evening.
Biden, meanwhile, has also restarted his fundraising campaign across 2 states as he looks to regain confidence after his shaky performance at the debate. President Biden visited the upscale Hamptons for a campaign fundraiser hosted by hedge fund billionaire Barry Rosenstein. Later in the day, he also traveled to New Jersey. Earlier, at a rally in North Carolina, Biden insisted Friday that he will remain the party's standard bearer in November. He said he would not be running again if he didn't believe he could do the job.
Now, reports point towards 3 groups of Democrats, those who will defend Biden under any circumstances, those who are ready to dump him and those who are waiting to see what he does and what his poll numbers look like in the coming weeks. Democrats now have a choice to make whether they want to stick with an 81-year-old incumbent who could at any time have a repeat of the first debate, or to go with a different candidate whose path to nomination could be a messy process.
What also factors in here is that there is no clear replacement for Biden. So far, Biden has shown no indications of wanting to step aside either, and no opponents have challenged him directly. He has spent the last several months accruing nearly 4,000 Democratic delegates by winning primary elections. These delegates will normally vote for him, but the rules do not bind or force them to do so. If Biden releases his delegates by stepping aside, there could be a competition among other Democratic candidates to become the nominee.
Now, the 10th plenary meeting of North Korea's ruling party began on Friday, and on the second day of the key meeting, North Korean officials wore pins with a portrait of their leader, Kim Jong-un.
Of course, now this is in public for the first time. In the photographs released by news agency KCNA, the officials were seen wearing the party logo pin on the right lapel, and on the left, the pin with Kim's face. Here's a report, take a look.
North Korean officials wore pins with a portrait of Kim Jong-un in public for the first time, in pictures released by state media on Sunday. It's the latest sign of a growing cult of personality about the leader. The officials were speaking at a meeting of the reclusive state's ruling party, which was chaired by Kim. They wore the pin with Kim's face against a flag-shaped red background on the left chest, while the right lapel sported the typical party logo pin. In April, this music video was aired on the state-controlled Korean Central Television, which has been banned by South Korea. The propaganda song praised Kim Jong-un as a friendly father and a great leader. The Kim dynasty has ruled North Korea since its founding after World War II, building cults of personality to strengthen its grip on power. Earlier this year, North Korean media showed Kim's portrait hanging prominently next to those of his father, Kim Jong-il, and his grandfather and national patriarch, Kim Il-sung. It was seen as a push to put his status on a par with theirs.
Hurricane Beryl has strengthened into an extremely dangerous Category 4 storm.
Right, with maximum sustained wind speed close to 210 kilometers per hour. The hurricane has forced Caribbean islands to prepare for violent storms to strike. Here's a lowdown. Take a look.
The U.S. National Hurricane Center said on Sunday that Hurricane Beryl had become a very dangerous Category 4 storm as it neared the Caribbean, the first major hurricane of the 2024 season. New projection maps showed the hurricane barreling toward Barbados with maximum sustained winds of 130 miles per hour. The forecaster said Beryl is expected to hit the Windward Islands late Sunday night, bringing life-threatening winds and storm surge that could raise water levels up to 9 feet above normal. Hurricane warnings have been issued in Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, as well as the Grenadine Islands, Grenada, and Tobago. It's rare for a major hurricane to appear as early in the year as June. Last month, the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration predicted above-normal hurricane activity this year, in part due to near-record warm ocean temperatures. According to National Hurricane Center data, Beryl on Sunday became the earliest Category 4 hurricane on record.
All right, let's shift our focus now to Greece. Fanned by strong winds, a wildfire has been raging south of Athens.
This comes even as the firefighters are managing to contain a series of blazes in the mountainous area near the capital. Dozens of firefighters, backed up by 17 water-carrying aircraft, have been fighting to tame the new fire near the town of Kereti, which is some 22 miles south of Athens.
The hot and windy conditions across parts of Greece, it's led to dozens of wildfires over the weekend. Authorities have advised people to stay away from forested areas. Wildfires are common in the Mediterranean country but have become more devastating in recent years. Summers have become hotter, drier, windier, with scientists linked to the effects of climate change.
After last summer's deadly forest fires and following its warmest winter on record, Greece developed a new doctrine, and this includes deploying an extra fire engine to each new blaze, speeding up air support and clearing forests as well.
And with that, it's time now for a short break.
Don't go anywhere. Of course, this is World DNA. We will be back after the break. On the other side, we bring you more details. 5 members of a family have drowned after being swept away due to sudden strong flow of water at a waterfall in Lonavla in the Indian state of Maharashtra.
Also on the other side, China's manufacturing activity contracted for a second straight month in June, signaling weakness in an area that Beijing is betting on to drive the economy. More details on the other side. Do stay tuned.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Namaste. Hello friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years, from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
Amid a wave of popular anger against the ruling party in the UK, millions will exercise their mandate in a historic election on the 4th of July.
Keir Starmer, leader of the Labour Party.
Up against a never-seen infighting, dissent, disputes against its leadership, the Conservatives are fighting with their backs to the wall. Will the Tories suffer a total wipeout? Will Labour clinch an unprecedented victory?
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I actually pushed myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for staying with us. This is World DNA with Haim and me, Shivan. Let's get you started with the headlines we're tracking for you at this hour.
In a major blow to Macron, Marine Le Pen's far-right National Rally party makes big gains in the first round of the French parliamentary election. Le Pen declares her party has practically wiped out Emmanuel Macron.
Anti-far-right protests erupt in France. Protesters clash with police as several thousand gather at Place de la République in Paris, where leading figures in the Left Alliance were due to speak out against the far right.
Russian forces attack Ukraine's two largest cities with missile fragments falling on a suburban Kyiv apartment building and a guided bomb killing one person in Kharkiv.
Hundreds of ultra-Orthodox protesters clash with Israeli police in central Jerusalem after Israel's top court ruled that the state must begin drafting Jewish seminary students into the military.
North Korea launches two ballistic missiles, claims South Korea's military. This is the latest in a series of weapons tests by Pyongyang that have soured relations with Seoul.
At least 18 people are killed and 30 others were injured after a series of attacks by suspected female suicide bombers in Nigeria's northeastern Borno state.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa announces his new government with the former opposition parties getting 12 out of 32 portfolios after the ruling ANC lost its outright parliamentary majority.
At least 5 members of a family, including 4 children, were drowned after being swept away due to sudden strong flow of water at a waterfall in Lonavala in the Indian state of Maharashtra.
Beryl, the first hurricane of the 2024 Atlantic season, strengthens into an extremely dangerous Category 4 storm as it threatens the southeast Caribbean.
Three-time champions Spain thrashed Georgia 4-1 to set up a blockbuster quarter-final clash with Germany at the European Championship.
All right, in India, 3 new criminal laws are set to come into effect today.
The new laws will replace the British-era Indian Penal Code, Code of Criminal Procedure and the Indian Evidence Act.
This new law will bring in a modern justice system. Let's just take a look at some of the provisions under these criminal laws. To begin with, people can file a complaint online without physically visiting a police station. With the introduction of zero FIR, a person can file a first information report at any police station regardless of the jurisdiction. This eliminates delays in initiating legal proceedings and ensures immediate reporting of the offence. Summons can also be served electronically. That will expedite the legal processes. Videography of crime scenes for all heinous crimes will be a mandatory feature. Judgment in criminal cases have to be delivered within 45 days of the completion of trial, and charges must be framed within 60 days of the first hearing.
Moreover, statements of rape victims will be recorded by a female police officer in the presence of her guardian or relative, and medical reports have to be given 7 days. The offence of sedition has been replaced with treason, and video recording of all searches and seizures have been made mandatory.
In an interesting addition to the law, an individual has the right to inform a person of his or her situation in the event of an arrest. This will ensure immediate support and assistance for the arrested individual. Besides, arrest details will now be prominently displayed within police stations and district headquarters. The definition of gender now includes transgender individuals as well.
Meanwhile, a new chapter on crimes against women and children has been added. Buying and selling of a child will now be considered a heinous crime. There is a provision for a death sentence or life imprisonment for gang rape of a minor. A new provision has been made for cases such as the abandonment of women after making sexual relations on the false promise of marriage. Victims of crimes against women are entitled to regular updates on the progress of their case within 90 days. The new laws also guarantee free first aid or medical treatment to victims of crimes against women and children at all hospitals. Nature's fury wreaked havoc in several parts of India in the last 24 hours. 5 people, including a woman and 4 children, drowned in a waterfall close to the backwaters of Bhushi Dam in Maharashtra's Lonavala. There was a sudden rise in the water level due to incessant rain in the region over the past 2 days. A family of 7 slipped and fell into the water body, while 2 managed to swim back. 5 got swept away by the gushing waters, and 3 bodies have been recovered so far. Search operations continue to find the missing.
In Uttarakhand, a massive avalanche struck the mountains behind the revered Kedarnath Dham. It triggered concerns for the safety of thousands of Hindu pilgrims currently undertaking the Char Dham Yatra. However, the district administration, it has assured that the entire Kedarnath valley is safe and there was no loss of life or property due to the avalanche.
Myanmar has slammed a UN report on its weapon transactions. The nation's central bank denied UN claims that Myanmar's military government can still access money and weapons for its war against anti-coup forces.
Now, the Central Bank of Myanmar expressed that the United Nations Special Rapporteur's report harms the interests of Myanmar civilians and the relationship between Myanmar and other countries.
While the international efforts to isolate the junta appear to have dented its ability to buy military equipment, UN reported that it still imported $253 million worth of weapons until March this year. The report also stated that international banks, including those from Thailand, helped Myanmar to purchase munitions. Thailand has reportedly transferred $120 million worth of weapons and materials to Myanmar last year. However, Thailand's foreign ministry says it follows protocols like other major financial hubs. Thailand's government said that it will look into UN Rapporteur's report.
In 2021, Myanmar's military staged a coup against Nobel laureate Aung San Suu Kyi's government. 3 years on, Myanmar's military is caught up in multiple low-intensity conflicts and grappling to stabilize a crumbling economy. All right, on to news now from the world of business.
All right, let's start off by looking at WION's monthly global economic health check. First, let's look at how global markets performed in June.
Right, oil rose nearly 6% with benchmark Brent crude hitting over $86 a barrel as Houthis' attacks on ships in the Red Sea increase. Gold closed out the month low as bets of a Federal Reserve cut keep getting kicked down the road, but the yellow metal has still held near its record high levels. On the other hand, the dollar reversed losses in May to gain over 1% as expectations for several Fed rate cuts this year faded.
Moving on to Asia-Pacific stock markets, Japanese stocks performed strongly in June, rising over 8%. Australian stocks saw a nearly 1% gain. The real estate and economic crisis weighed heavily on Chinese stocks as the Shanghai index tanked 5%. And Indian benchmarks closed out June at near record highs with nearly 6%. And of course, these are gains. Now, the Sensex index and the Nifty are eyeing new milestones ahead of the budget.
The rally continued in the American stocks with the S&P 500 and Nasdaq hovering near record highs. Only the Canadian stock index closed out June in the red with losses of 1.8%.
The picture was extremely turbulent for the European markets. All the indices in the region fell significantly. However, South Africa's stock index rose nearly 4%. Now, let's turn our attention to the overall economic outlook. Let's look at the Asia-Pacific region to begin with. The International Monetary Fund gave a big thumbs up to India, and the outlook for Japan was upgraded on policy support. However, the prospects for Australia remain negative, and for China, it turned negative because of the deepening real estate crisis despite tens of billions of dollars in stimulus. That is weighing heavily on the dragon country's economy.
For the Americas, the outlook for the United States, Canada and Argentina was downgraded. For the US economy, expectations are for a soft landing. The economic activity expectations in Canada and Argentina were cut, while Brazil's prospects improved.
On the other side of the Atlantic, the negative outlook seems to be widespread. The UK and other European economies are predicted to just about avoid a recession at best. The outlook for African economies was not very different. They were expected to underperform.
And in more bad news for China, the country's manufacturing activity contracted for a second straight month in June.
This signals a weakness in an area that Beijing is betting on to drive the economy. Now, on Sunday, the National Bureau of Statistics said the official Manufacturing Purchasing Manager Index was 49.5. That matched the May reading and was in line with the consensus in a Bloomberg survey. Any value greater than 50 indicates growth. A gauge assessing new export orders remained constant at 48.3, while a sub-index of new orders at factories inched lower to 49.5 due to weaker demand. An indicator of activity in the construction and services sector dropped to 50.5, which is the lowest in nearly a year. That is in contrast to the 51.1 recorded in May and the predicted 51.
China's manufacturing sector has shown some improvement this year. However, the country's consumer sector has been hit hard by the ongoing real estate crisis. The nation's goal of achieving economic growth of approximately 5% this year is jeopardized, the reason being the persistent shrinkage in the manufacturing sector.
Trade tensions have added to the challenges. Two of China's most important export markets, the United States and the European Union, have raised concerns about a glut of low-priced Chinese goods. They accuse Chinese exports of being unfairly supported by the government subsidies. Both have hinted at the possibility of taxing electric vehicle exports from China and other industries where Beijing has a pricing advantage. And in technology, according to reports, Israeli tech startups raised over $2.9 billion in the second quarter of 2024. The figure marks Israeli tech sector's highest level in 2 years, despite the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. Around 62% of the total raised amount comes from 6 deals worth more than $100 million. Interestingly, the number of first-timers and new foreign investors in Israeli tech has increased.
And starting today, the U.S. state of Florida is banning the sale and distribution of lab-grown meat. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said, I'm quoting here, the ban will prevent the global elite from forcing the world to eat lab-grown meat and insects. Anyone found violating the law will have to pay a fine or will have their business license suspended. Other U.S. states too are considering similar bans. This includes the state of Alabama, Arizona and Tennessee.
Detroit, a city in the U.S. state of Michigan, has agreed to pay $300,000 to Robert Williams. Williams was wrongly accused of shoplifting due to a faulty facial recognition system. That's not all. Now, the council also agreed to revise the city's face recognition law. In the future, the Detroit police will be prohibited from arresting people based solely on facial recognition results. Moreover, they will not be allowed to make arrests based on photo lineups generated from a facial recognition search.
Как по-другому, даже если